Section 25 of the Expedition of Humphry Clinker. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit Librivox.org. Recording by Deborah Lynn. The Expedition of Humphry Clinker by Tobias Smollett. Section 25. To Dr. Lewis. You ask me why I don't take the air a horseback during this fine weather. In which of the avenues of this paradise would you have me take that exercise? Shall I commit myself to the high roads of London or Bristol, to be stifled with dust, or pressed to death in the midst of post-chaises, flying machines, waggons, and coal-horses? Besides the troops of fine gentlemen that take to the highway to shew their horsemanship, and the coaches of fine ladies who go thither to shew their equipages, shall I attempt the downs, and fatigue myself to death in climbing up an eternal ascent, without any hopes of reaching the summit? No, then, I have made divers desperate leaps at those upper regions, but always fell backward into this vapour pit, exhausted and dispirited by those ineffectual efforts. And here we poor valetudinarians pant and struggle, like so many Chinese gudgeons, gasping in the bottom of a punch-bowl. By heaven, it is a kind of enchantment. If I do not speedily break the spell and escape, I may chance to give up the ghost in this nauseous stew of corruption. It was but 2 nights ago that I had like to have made my public exit at a minute's warning. One of my greatest weaknesses is that of suffering myself to be overruled by the opinion of people whose judgment I despise. I own, with shame and confusion of face, that importunity of any kind I cannot resist. This want of courage and constancy is an original flaw in my nature, which you must have often observed with compassion, if not with contempt. I am afraid some of our boasted virtues may be traced up to this defect. Without further preamble, I was persuaded to go to a ball, on purpose to see Liddy dance a minuet with a young petulant jackanapes, the only son of a wealthy undertaker from London, whose mother lodges in our neighbourhood, and has contracted an acquaintance with Tabby. I sat a couple of long hours, half stifled, in the midst of a noisome crowd, and could not help wondering that so many hundreds of those that rank as rational creatures could find entertainment in seeing a succession of insipid animals describing the same dull figure for a whole evening on an area not much bigger than a tailor's shop board. If there had been any beauty, grace, activity, magnificent dress, or variety of any kind, howsoever absurd, to engage the attention and amuse the fancy, I should not have been surprised. But there was no such object. It was a tiresome repetition of the same languid, frivolous scene, performed by actors that seemed to sleep in all their motions. The continual swimming of these phantoms before my eyes gave me a swimming of the head, which was also affected by the fouled air circulating through such a number of rotten human bellows. I therefore retreated towards the door, and stood in the passage to the next room, talking to my friend Quin. When an end being put to the minuets, the benches were removed to make way for the country dances, and the multitude rising at once, the whole atmosphere was put in commotion. Then all of a sudden came rushing upon me an Egyptian gale, so impregnated with pestilential vapours that my nerves were overpowered, and I dropped senseless upon the floor. You may easily conceive what a clamour and confusion this accident must have produced in such an assembly. I soon recovered, however, and found myself in an easy-chair, supported by my own people. Sister Tabby, in her great tenderness, had put me to the torture, squeezing my hand under her arm, and stuffing my nose with spirit of hartshorn, till the whole inside was excoriated. I no sooner got home than I sent for Dr. Ch, who assured me I needed not be alarmed, for my swooning was entirely occasioned by an accidental impression of fetid effluvia upon nerves of uncommon sensibility. I know not how other people's nerves are constructed, but one would imagine they must be made of very coarse materials, to stand the shock of such a torrid assault. It was, indeed, a compound of villainous smells, in which the most violent stinks and the most powerful perfumes contended for the mastery. Imagine to yourself a high exalted essence of mingled odours, arising from putrid gums, imposthumated lungs, sour flatulencies, rank armpits, sweating feet, running sores and issues, plasters, ointments, and embrocations, Hungary water, spirit of lavender, asafoetida drops, musk, hartshorn, and sal volatile, besides 1,000 frowsy steams, which I could not analyze. Such, O Dick, is the fragrant ether we breathe in the polite assemblies of Bath. Such is the atmosphere I have exchanged for the pure, elastic, animating air of the Welsh mountains. Orus quando te absiciam. I wonder what the devil possessed me. But few words are best. I have taken my resolution. You may well suppose I don't intend to entertain the company with a second exhibition. I have promised in an evil hour to proceed to London, and that promise shall be performed, but my stay in the metropolis shall be brief. I have, for the benefit of my health, projected an expedition to the north, which, I hope, will afford some agreeable pastime. I have never travelled farther that way than Scarborough, and I think it is a reproach upon me, as a British freeholder, to have lived so long without making an excursion to the other side of the Tweed. Besides, I have some relations settled in Yorkshire, to whom it may not be improper to introduce my nephew and his sister. At present I have nothing to add, but that Tabby is happily disentangled from the Irish baronet, and that I will not fail to make you acquainted from time to time with the sequel of our adventures, a mark of consideration which perhaps you would willingly dispense with in Your humble servant, M. Bramble, Bath, May 8. End of Section 25.